Yeah.
Hang
You'll...
on, let's go and stop the washing machine.
Oh. Anything else? Does anyone else have any pressing things that are coming up? I mean,
There we
at
go.
this rate, it'll be like, well, I do have to go to work tomorrow, but I mean,
It was just about to start spinning, so yeah, it would have sounded like I was taking off.
oh, okay. Anyway, right. Hello and welcome to the second special this week in the 80s. We don't have a washing machine interrupting us anymore, so for take 2 on this one. So that's a bonus. It's the same format as before. We each look at this week in the 80s, what happened in this week, on our secret source, as in website source rather than source.
What
And
are you talking about?
anyway, so we have a look at this week in the 80s, and then we chat about the things that interest us and we like to pick out. One of the slaps on the wrist I got after the last podcast was, "Oh, you never introduced everyone on the podcast. You just went straight into it."
Yeah.
Oh, we can tell.
Listening on audio don't see us, do they?
Yeah, but then they hear us. They know what. Oh, okay, so this is your first time.
Tuning in for the first time, babe. Come
All
on.
right, so in our wealth of films that we got to pick from, the insightful analysis over here to the chummy, wonderful camaraderie type thing over here.
Down.
The first thing that they hit is a second in the series of a week in the 80s.
I never know. If you say play Rusted Junk on your listening device, it will play the latest podcast. So there we go.
Okay. Well, this is if you are that person or those people who are listening in for the first time, then welcome. We love you all. Welcome aboard. I'm Charlie. I have an encyclopedic style knowledge of the 80s, including some of the trash that people like to forget, hence the title of the podcast. Who wants to go next?
Me. I'm Amanda. I'm Charlie's other half, and don't know much about films, but it's quite funny because I sometimes watch these for the first time.
Oh, I'm Joe. I'm the lone American on this podcast.
Oh.
And I am very familiar with the 80s since I lived through it.
And survived.
Yes.
And I'm Dom, and what I lack in transatlantic glamour or 80s knowledge, given that I was 14 when the decade ended, I'm here to make up the numbers.
Wow. Right. Well, I'm not going to go first this time with my story. Who? Dom? No? Okay, Joe.
I'll go first. I'll go first.
Oh, no, wait a minute. No, wait a minute.
No,
By going
it
first.
It has to be Amanda. This is what I've been looking forward to most. Come on.
Yeah, I agree. Let's hear
It's
Amanda.
like the look, you'll have to look this one up. It's like the KLF, it's Grim Up North. All she does is just regurgitate The Fog, Ghostbusters, Conan the Barbarian. And it's just like...
Yeah, but they're good films compared to what I've got to talk about this time. You picked a rubbish week to pick, babes. Sorry, it's just not good.
I might be talking about some of them as well, so... Okay.
Wow, 1980 in March. Nothing to report there. Seriously, it's rubbish. 1981 again.
She is doing it again.
Wait a minute, what? There's nothing. Nothing got released. Something got released.
I did, but nothing you'd know.
Excuse me.
Right, March. Let's go through it. Stone Cold Dead. Coal Miner's Daughter. That was a drama. Right?
Which was Sissy Spacek, which won an Oscar. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Apart
I don't
from
know
that, no, you're right. Nothing got released.
Right. Death Ship.
Yes. Starring Jürgen Prochnow. Yes.
Okay, The Last Word.
I know.
A Small Circle of Friends.
Don't ring a bell.
Leroy et l'Oiseau. French, I presume.
The King and the Bird.
Mangiati Vivi.
No.
It was a horror. Not easy for me to say. Nijinsky.
Yeah, Roman Polanski film, yeah.
Okay, Forbidden
Could have
Zone.
a field day with this. Roman Polanski over here, the Oscars over here, Sissy Spacek over there. Oh, but nothing got released. That's fine.
I don't know. I told you, I don't know much about films. Anyway, right, that was 1980. 1981, Madhouse, a horror movie.
I was thinking of the John Larroquette one with Kirstie Alley.
Yeah, I was thinking of that one too.
That's a great, that's a good film.
I was thinking of Pat Sharp and the Twins, but that was perhaps a different thinking.
There was a house kind of theme running here because there's The Fun House, which is also a horror movie that was released in March.
Wow.
Modern romance, romantic comedy.
No.
No, don't know that one.
I know that one.
How do you? Okay. Postman always rings twice.
Jessica Lange, Jack
Very
Nicholson.
famous. Yeah.
Yeah, very famous.
Okay.
Yeah.
He does her on the kitchen table. That's
Yeah, Jessica Lange, one of my favorites.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was 1981. 1982.
Are we going to do all the years, or are we going to stop at 85?
No, we're going through as we did last time. Richard Pryor live on the Sunset Strip.
Which is an absolute classic. Are we saying that that's forgotten? Is that?
Well, I
mean,
don't know.
I mean, Eddie Murphy based his whole act upon that.
Well, I
yeah.
just thought I'd give it a mention then.
Okay.
All right. Porky's.
A rite of passage. Yeah.
That was March the 19th, 1982. That was
Wow.
released. Don't know any of the others. 1983. There's nothing there, I know.
Well, for those who listen on audio, it's just man shaking her head in disdain at the fact that she has no idea what she's reading. But yeah, go on.
Well,
Please proceed.
Okay. 1984. Now we're getting some traction on this. This is Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Okay. Children
Wasn't that mentioned last week?
It was, yeah, but I had to overlap because it was bad last time, but not as bad as this time. So I've had to
Look,
repeat.
you only get 3 strikes to say Spinal Tap is bad. You've had 2, possibly
Okay.
3.
Children of the Corn.
Yes.
I've not seen it, but
Stephen
I think
King.
that's
Yeah.
quite memorable, isn't it? Splash. March the
Yeah.
9th.
Can I just interject? That website that you pointed us to for the reference, Charlie, is rubbish because none of these are on that. I could have done my little spiel on any number of those films that we've talked about so
Well,
far.
by all means,
Yeah.
feel free to,
So,
look
The
elsewhere.
website I'm using is the-numbers.com.
Okay.
Right, fine. Next time, I'm just abandoning that extremely limited website. that we're looking at.
Limited.
And
I've got loads of stuff.
One
Go on.
thing that you'll enjoy: Police Academy, the first one, March 23rd, 1984.
Which is which Dom and I discussed is a bona fide classic.
And then March the 30th, we've got Greystoke, The Legend of
Which is-
Tarzan.
Absolutely.
And then again, same day, Romancing the Stone.
Oh, absolutely. Classic.
That is a good question, Dom. Why aren't any of those movies on that site?
Well, some of this we seem to be going later into March now, which is fine. But
No,
We are
what-
later into March because there's hardly anything in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
That's what
basically
it's
she's
about.
listed a load of films that come out in a 5-week window. So we need to we need to change the title of this. This 5 weeks in the 80s.
Well, otherwise I
And
have
then it opens it up. I bet if you click
have-
on next week, you'll get Splash.
I'd
Oh
have
right,
nothing
okay.
to talk about. Otherwise, anyway.
Oh, sweetheart, you bring
March,
you bring
shush.
such sunshine to the
Right.
podcast.
Oh, careful. 1985 March. Right, The Sure Thing.
Yes,
Which I mentioned last time.
one of my favourite films.
Okay, and then we've got Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning.
It wasn't, but yeah, okay.
Was it not? Was it really that bad? Then, obviously, a year later, we got Porky's Revenge.
Yes, which so Porky's Revenge is strange because it's the third in the title. So Porky's 2 the next day, which is dreadful, and I mean dreadful in the way that Porky's was okay, and it's all right and it's watchable. Porky's 2 is pretty much unwatchable.
Okay, and then March 29th, we see in that year, Desperately Seeking Susan and Police Academy 2.
This will be a common theme, I think, because I'm going to be talking about Police Academy 5.
Yeah, I think they released them in March because 1986, see, The Care Bears Movie 2, A New Generation, Highlander, A Room with a View, which I mentioned last time.
Yeah.
You did.
And-
What?
And you ragged on it, which
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't like it.
which
but you-
upset Joe.
And then Police Academy 3, Back in Training.
well, maybe they released those in March because it's St. Patrick's Day, and they figured so many people are going to be drunk they'll just go to see anything.
Yeah, could be. Good point there, Joe. March 1987, Evil Dead 2, Heat, and Raising Arizona. And then we've also got Blind
Heat.
Date.
Not the Al Pacino one.
Is
That's
it not?
It's the Burt Reynolds one.
Oh, is it? Okay. 1988, we see Police Academy 5.
Assignment Miami Beach.
That's
We'll get
the
to
one.
that.
Biloxi Blues. And we also see Beetlejuice.
Biloxi Blues. You, if you haven't watched that, dear listeners, you need to go and watch that.
I've not seen it.
Matthew Broderick, Christopher Walken. Oh, it's just brilliant. It's just amazing.
I should watch that again, but I remember being bored with it when I saw it.
Really, it's just it's a nice slow burner until you get
What's it
and then you
actually
get that bit
about?
at the end. Being boot camp for the Second World War. And
I
so
think it'd be a good one for the pod because it's split opinion a bit, as would Beetlejuice and Highlander as well. I think you mentioned, Amanda.
Yeah,
Are they
we've done
good or
Beetlejuice.
not? Ah, yeah, we've had. Okay. Well, Highlander one. Yeah,
It's gonna run out of
I've done
movies.
Highlander, no.
popular at the time, but does it? I've seen it recently. I wasn't so sure.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? Doesn't stand the test of time, really. And then in 1989, Lean on Me.
Morgan Freeman.
We've got Chances Are
Hey.
and Police Academy 6, Under Siege. How many of them did they do?
7.
Oh, geez. And then Leviathan.
Oh, our favourite.
Mm,
Well, which gave the title of this show,
Exactly.
Leviathan. Yeah.
Mr. Junk.
Mr.
We've
Junk.
also got. Oh, no, that's it. That's it. And then there's one here, and I'm sure I'm supposed to know it. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that movie.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's like it's Terry Gilliam, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a tale about. Okay, I can't remember. I remember watching it.
Wasn't it a financial disaster at Syntron?
Sorry,
I
this
think it was. No, it's
encyclopedic knowledge, Charles. Come on.
Yeah, there's
he's
some
supposed
things-
to be
I
like
did watch
this
it.
historic British figure who was in the military,
Oh.
and they just go on these adventures with this little girl. And they meet people along the way. Eric Idle's in it. I'm sure there's a bunch of other people. Was Robin Williams in it? Like he played like a
Yes,
head.
yes, he was. That's right.
Yeah. But it's just like it's fun to watch. It's one of those Terry Gilliam movies that's I would say a little more family friendly than
Okay.
his other ones.
Yeah, it said it's comedy. But yeah. There we go. I'm done.
Okay. Wow.
I'd say it was worth it just to hear you say Porkies.
Well, how am I supposed to say it?
I don't know. I found that amusing.
Well, how else can you say it? Porkies.
I thought the note of contempt as you said it was
No, I just liked how you said it with your accent. I say Porkies.
It's the same
But-
thing.
You go
No,
porkies.
you said Porkies. It's a difference. Accent suave on the O.
Porkies.
So I'll go first, and I'll pick up on
No,
one
I
of the
went
films that we
first.
talk about. Well, I'll go first on the proper agenda. Yeah, we did this last week. It's fine.
I mean, I don't count. Did you know
Oh.
it was International Women's Day this week?
Yes, you couldn't move because every woman was telling you. So yeah, yeah. I'm.
We only get one day in a year. It's not good enough.
We get a day in the year. Nobody gives a crap about it. I'm like, cheers, thanks for that. Men, who needs them, eh? Police Academy 5. I did say that 4 and 5 are the worst films in the series. Mission to Moscow, which was the final one, was poor, but at least you can go back and watch it. And City Under Siege has its moments, very poor as they are. But Police Academy 5 might just be the worst one of the lot.
Why?
It's so Commandant Assad thinks he's going to. So they have a. So it's assignment Miami Beach. He thinks he's going to Miami for a conference, but at the airport he gets kidnapped but he doesn't think that he's been kidnapped. He thinks these are just his hosts.
Oh,
So
God.
half the film is that the cadets and everything else going on. The other half is the star sitting there drinking tea with people, thinking that he's just with this lovely family. And he doesn't get it that he's been kidnapped because the people that kidnapped him don't speak English. So it's wonderful. So it's this. It reminds me of the National Lampoon's European Vacation, where they go to see their in-laws in Germany, and they go into the wrong. Well, you don't know this at the time, but they knock on the door, and the people welcoming in, they go, "Oh, lovely to see you," and stuff like this. And they stay there, and they cook for them, and they drink, and in the end, they go, and the subtitle is, "Who were they?" He goes, "Damned if I know." And it feels a bit like that in Police Academy 5. The reason they keep mentioning this, because even though it was the law of diminishing returns, it cost 14 million to make and it raised 54.5 million. You're right, Joe. Somebody somewhere was going to watch this. I was one of those people that was going to watch it, and I found it funny back in the 80s. But now, with the prism of God knows experience or taste, it's gone. I love Police Academy. I would love Police Academy. I like 2. I like 3. But this suffers by not having Mahoney. It doesn't have Steve Guttenberg because he was off making 3 Men and a Baby. So he's not in it, and it suffers for it.
Are these the films that have got like the really tall guy called Hightower?
Hightower, yeah.
And then the small African American woman that has a really high voice.
Hooks.
Yeah. And then like the guy with like really wild hair that really speaks really weirdly.
Upcat Goldthwait, yeah.
Okay, they're those films. Yeah,
Yes.
that's why I don't watch them.
Do you want to know what the audience score is on Rotten Tomatoes for Police Academy 5?
Oh God, 29%.
You're not far off. It's 33.
Oh.
Do you want to know the critics?
Oh, 19.
It's got to be in the single digits.
It is in the single digits. Unfortunately, that digit is 0. It's 0.
I'm
What,
just
they've
looking at
not
some-
reviewed it, or?
I don't think anyone gives a shit. You know, like, even 40 years later, even the critics are like, I'm not touching this turd.
some of the reviews are a bit pithy.
Yeah, go on.
Reeks of desperation. Just a single word review, no. Yeah, the creator of Police Academy films, clearly not a man who could be stopped even by a SWAT team of movie critics with blood in their eyes. Yeah, not a success. I mean, this is like the epitome of cynical, profit-driven film, cranking the handle filmmaking, isn't it? And yeah, it was awful by this stage of the franchise.
See, and I say that, and I'm going to just bring the current situation into it. John Wick 4, the buzz for that, and the people that have seen it have said, this is not only one of the best, it is the best John Wick film. It might be one of the best action films of all time. That's the buzz that's universally coming from all these places. And I'm like, I don't know what you've done here, but if this is true, then it's going to mean the 4th in the installment. Well, which is, if we use the Star Trek analogy, Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home. That was a brilliant film. So yeah, we got another.
John Wick to Star Trek?
Well, you could base it in the 4th in the series. Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. No.
Well,
don't
I
do
still warn people from early. They're not reviews. They're basically social media.
Yeah, because they're
I
not
guess
allowed to review, are they?
Yeah, usually those people are invited by these major corporations or companies that make the movie, distribute it, and a lot of times they're afraid to say anything negative because they won't be asked again. So I would still curb your enthusiasm until you actually see the movie.
Eric Weber, who I do trust, and Chris Gore, who I do trust, unanimous, and that's what they're coming from, and they're really not part of the establishment.
And they've seen it.
They've seen it.
Oh, that's cool then. Okay. I take that back.
I'll post you Eric Weber's thing. Eric Weber just was a giddy school kid when he came out of that. He said it was just incredible, but I can't tell you anything about it. Well, there's one of mine. Seeing as Amanda is, I was about to say spent your load, but that's not the right way to use
Scattergun.
Dom. Yeah, scattergun, yeah. Dom.
Me?
Dom or Joe. Or Joe.
I don't mind going because it is slim pickings this week. Unlike other members of the pod crew, I have stuck to the week in question rather than range over the entire quarter.
No content, sorry.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, I'll let you be the judge of whether or not I found any content when I did my bit. So, thinking about March, obviously rich in historical events. There's the famous Ides of March. Caesar was killed, 15th of March, 44.
Wait a minute. Did you not get the message of what?
Yeah,
what
it's
we
not
do?
the 80s.
No, this is my segue onto my content, and
680s.
I've prepared a deep dive on the Iran-Contra affair, which obviously came famously in March 16th, 1988. Or we could just do a deep dive on Uranus, Charles. My heavily trailed joke that was 242 years ago. But yeah, so sticking to 80s subjects, I've got one that's personal one to me, which I'll save for later. Or I've got a much better sequel than the one that you earlier talked about, which is the release of The Evil Dead 2.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that.
13th of March, 1987, and I think is a good film in its own right. And I think I remember nominating this for our sequels.
I know, I apologise. We did Friday the 5th. We did Halloween 2 instead. I do apologise.
No, but yeah, Evil Dead 2, enjoyable film, better perhaps than the original, one of those kind of rare sequels, I would say. Very kind of self-referential as well. So that kind of, I think, a bit of a catalyst for later 90s horror films such as Scream, which kind of, tongue-in-cheek, a bit of a nodding wink to the audience every now and then, that they're in on the joke as well. And I was looking at some of the lines that are available on IMDb, and at one point, Bruce Campbell's character is getting shouted at, I'll swallow your soul, I'll swallow your soul, I'll swallow your soul. Aims a shotgun at her face, swallow this. I just think lines like that. There's the famous groovy line when he gets a chainsaw.
Yeah, groovy.
For his hand. And then the little kind of, you've got to pay attention to the film a little bit if you're watching it. So when his his possessed hand has been sawn off and he sticks it on the bookshelf, it's next to the book A Farewell to Arms. Little in jokes like that. I thought, A, it's an enjoyable film in its own right, and B, kind of laid the groundwork for some of the other films which followed. And you talked about films which are getting a good buzz online at the moment. I forget which number it is. Is it Scream 6?
6.
Yeah.
Not getting a good buzz.
Not getting a good buzz. Well, the previews that reviews that I've read put it in good stead. So
okay,
perhaps more mixed than unanimously loved, like John Wick 4. But yeah, so I'll be going to see that in pictures anyway.
Okay. Did you see the previous? Have you seen all of them?
No, I don't know about all of them, but I've certainly seen the first 3. I think. Yeah.
All right. Okay. It's interesting that you go out to see 6 and not 5, which was a couple of years ago, was it?
But if it gets a good review, then that's I haven't got enough time to go and watch terrible new films at the cinema. But yeah, 6 I'll go, and I'll go and watch John Wick 4 as well. I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, we could all catch up about John Wick, but not for the podcast. Although maybe we can. Maybe we just go outside a little bit here and there, because I think people like us and trust us on this sort of thing. So we could all yay, have a trip. Obviously, I'll go with you, Amanda. But yeah.
What sort of genre is John Wick, would you say?
Action.
Pure
Keanu
action.
Reeves film.
We need to watch 3. You didn't watch 3. So we can watch 3 before we go and see 4.
I'm sure I watched 3. Because I remember saying I didn't watch 3, and then we started watching 3, and I was like, I've seen 3.
You know what's annoying with those
great,
films? The first one's called John Wick. The second one's called John Wick 2. The third one's called John Wick 3. Oh, it is called John Wick, the next chapter?
Yes.
The third one is called Parabellum. And now this is called John Wick 4. There's no subtitle to that, is there?
I don't think so, no.
If I ever have a franchise of movies and one of them has to be called This Time It's Personal, I just think that's gonna be in there at some point. As John Wick 4, This Time It's Personal.
Yeah, but that's the tagline for Jaws of Revenge. So yeah, which we'll get to at some point. I know. Look, I'll have to probably drag you all kicking and screaming to watch it, but we have to do Jaws 4 at some point. I'm really sorry.
And what year did that come out?
87.
Thought it might be our first time stepping out of the 80s straight
No.
jacket, which you've put us in. I'm
I
looking
might
to
be.
Amanda to lead the escape with a 90s film or a 70s film. Yeah.
I might be ill that day.
Look, don't be washing your hair or anything, right? Yes, I agree with you. Evil Dead 2, it is better than the original. And then obviously from there you've got Army of Darkness, which is Chainsaw Hand is suddenly revered as a god and then chased down. Yeah, I agree definitely on that one. Joe,
Oh, let's
Joe.
see here. Got my list here.
have you got
Let me
something
pull it up.
less and obscure like The Greatest American Hero started this week, which I would know all about?
Damn, you bastard! You guessed it.
But...
That's exactly what I was going to
Was
go
it?
for
Sorry, I
first.
just took a... Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, March 18th, 1981, The Greatest American Hero premiered on ABC.
Oh,
What is that then?
What a series.
It sounds like Charlie's seen it, and it sounds like Amanda has not seen it.
No news there then.
No, it was a fun series. It lasted for 3 seasons. I mean, I loved it because it's about superheroes. It's about a guy who finds this costume that was dropped off by aliens, but as he's leaving, he loses the instructions to the costume, and he has to figure it out along the way. So he keeps messing up all the time. It was a fun series. I enjoyed it. The theme song was very, very
amazing.
popular.
Amazing theme song.
How did it go?
Do I have to sing it?
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. Never thought I could feel this free.
Who was in it?
William Katz.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was originally, he might have been Luke Skywalker. He auditioned for it. When I look at it now, I wish he was, because I don't know. I think he would have played the role more masculine than Mark Hamill did. Connie Selica, I don't know if you ever heard of her. She was cute. This is his teacher girlfriend. And Robert Culp, who was
Robert Culp.
the only other thing I know he did was I Spy with Bill Cosby, which was a TV series. But it was fun. It was as a kid, you loved seeing superheroes. He had a red suit with a cape.
Yeah.
And you just didn't see that stuff on TV back then.
It was definitely a forerunner to a lot of stuff. It allowed things to break out a bit on TV.
But I loved the second season more just because he finally figured out how to use the suit. The first
What
season,
sort of things did he do then?
well, he was like kind of like Superman, like he could fly, had X-ray vision, could turn invisible. He had super strength and all that. But like when he would try to fly, he would always crash. Like he didn't know how to land, crash into buildings, or or he'd be flying and all of a sudden he would forget how to fly, and he would just fall to the earth in terror.
Okay.
You'd like it, Amanda. I think you would.
Sounds like it's up my street. Yeah.
No, she wouldn't like it, I'll tell you.
Oh.
But
Dom, did you ever watch
I think I tried to show you one time, and you went, "What is this rubbish?" But I mean, that was a while back now.
I've never heard of this. No, it does sound intriguing, but the series premiere that I thought we were going to be talking about, that somebody was going to call out, was T.J. Hooker. Also,
Yeah.
Which I do remember vaguely, but I've never heard of this one, Joe, I'm afraid.
Oh,
You
that's
don't-
all right.
You don't forget Heather Locklear.
Maybe you and Toodle Pip could have a watch party.
What, for Greatest American Hero or T.J. Hooker? Or both?
Well, no, for Greatest American Hero, because you've seen T.J. Hooker, right?
William Shatner, what an actor.
Yeah.
Adrian Sumed was a great sidekick.
Adrian Sumed.
Yeah.
What was
Come
it?
on.
Was it Heather Locklear? Or
Heather
she was in
Locklear,
that?
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, she was
Oh,
hot.
yes.
But I don't know. I just wasn't. I never seen that series. I mean, I would watch a random episode, but I just wasn't interested in it. Because William Shatner's Captain Kirk. He's not a cop on Earth.
No, true. Or a legalese person with James Spader.
Never seen that either.
It was in what was the title of the series? I know I've got it to watch, but just because I had James Spader in, because I
Boston
never watched
Legal.
it. That's it. Yeah. Well, okay, that's a good shout. I'm sorry I'm sorry I stole your thunder on it. I did have a minor film to just before I talk about the other thing that I wanted to do. In 1983, High Road to China. You all missed that one. Starring Tom Selleck and Bess Armstrong, who was in Jaws 3. She played the dolphin trainer in Jaws 3.
Bess Armstrong was cute.
Yes. Yeah, she was. And it was just basically a rip-off of Indiana Jones. It was like a precursor to Romance in the Stone. It's almost like, let's try this film. And it failed miserably because Tom Selleck is not an action hero, despite the numerous times you and I, Joe, have talked about all the action roles that he did go for and didn't get or missed out on because of other ways. Tom Selleck's just not an action hero.
No.
Well, he is, but he's typecast as Magnum, because that's an action hero.
He's not an action. That's not an action hero. Put him in the ring.
That's a private investigator.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Harclass and McCormick. It's like they're not action heroes. They're not.
Well, but he threw a couple of punches.
Well, whoop-de-doo.
Didn't cops do that in the 80s though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he was typecast. I couldn't. I've seen screen tests of him as Indiana Jones, and yeah, it just doesn't work. And he was the number one choice, which I'm so glad that didn't work out.
Yeah, absolutely. But you put him and Fred Dryer, Hunter, in the same ring, I don't think Tom Selleck's getting out alive. But anyway, my penultimate story, in case we've got some time. Sounds like we might have done. Depends what else you've got. Damon Wayans this week in 1986 got fired from Saturday Night Live. Now I like Damon Wayans. I liked him in The Last Boy Scout. Amanda, I know this is where you go, oh God, who's that? The guy that gives Eddie Murphy the bananas in Beverly Hills Cop, where he goes, oh, you could just have some for free.
Oh yeah.
Right, okay.
That's how you describe him?
Well, no, I mean, that's how I'm going to get through to Amanda, because I'm not going to go The Last Boy Scout with Bruce Willis. She's going to go, oh yeah, oh him. Right, anyway, now we've established that frame of reference. Great. He joined in with the intake in 1985 with Robert Downey Jr., Anthony Michael Hall, Damon Wayans. In this particular scene, what he was doing behind the scenes is because he was quite creative. He was giving his ideas to Lorne Michaels and the rest of the team at Saturday Night Live, and he was just being ignored. And he said, "Look, I'm better than this. I've got some really good ideas," and they just ignored him. So, this week in the 80s, he was on Saturday Night Live in a sketch called Mr. Monopoly, which was, the premise of the sketch was John Lovitz played, basically, Damon Wayans played a cop. Who was the other person? Randy Quaid from Cousin Eddie from the National Lampoon films played a cop interviewing somebody, and in the end he goes, "Oh, we need to." Premises: John Lovitz comes in dressed as the Monopoly character with the top hat, and said, "I'm here to represent him." And he said, "Well, I've got this." Puts his briefcase down, opens up, and goes, "I've got this," and gives him. He goes, "Get out to jail free." It's like, what? It's a, yes, you have to let him go now, and stuff like this. Anyway, that's the premise of it. Damon Wayans decided he was going to play the cop as gay. He hadn't, because it was all live. He just decided that that's what he was going to go out, and you can go and have a look at the sketch on YouTube, which I did. And Damon Wayans is the funniest thing about that sketch, apart from, John Lovitz, but John Lovitz is just great in anything. But he did that, and they fired him.
What,
and they went,
playing the character gay?
No, for going off script. Now, make of that what you will. Because I know when I was looking, when he did that, he fired him right after the show. And he said, for going into business for himself. That was the description. He went from there into, and then did In Living Colour.
Did you see that?
I did. I did see part of it because it was only shown on Channel 4, but that's obviously where Jim Carrey started in.
Yeah, it was very popular over here. It was like like a Black Saturday Night Live, and his brother, this is Damon Wayans, there were Marlon Wayans, and there was
Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Keenan Ivory Wayans, yeah, he was the one who started it. But yeah, that was they had one token white guy on there, and it was Jim Carrey, and that was really the first that anyone ever heard of Jim Carrey. He might have been in some minor movies and everything, but that made him a star.
It was in Kids in the Hall as well.
Yeah, but I think everyone back, over here, everyone watched In Living Color. Like, not everybody watched Kids in the Hall. That was Canadian, right?
Yeah. So it's weird because he went and did that, and he went and improvised, and he just took the character from Beverly Hills Cop, which is probably why I mentioned it for the other reason, apart from jogging Amanda's memory. But he just plays it like that, and you just think it's a good character. It looks out of place. There's no reason for it. But yeah, that's how you get fired. But they let everybody go. The intake that they took, they scrapped them all. Robert Downey Jr. out.
They weren't very good.
Out. Well, it turns out that Robert Downey Jr. is not bad. I think he's very good at comedy.
I remember that season. I don't remember Robert Downey Jr. doing anything in that season. He probably did. I do remember Anthony Michael Hall, doing a couple of characters, but it was a very weird cast.
Well, Anthony Michael Hall, I like, for obvious reasons. Anyway, that was mine. Dom, do we go Dom Joe again, or do we go Joe Dom again? Not again.
Well, I'll just finish off alienating the listeners with my next contribution, then, shall I? Because I've gone for
good. That's why we're here.
Yeah, so I've gone for musical insight this time, and on the 19th of March 1988 was released an album which I think is probably one of my most played albums of the 1980s. I present to you the Californian Raisins sing the hit songs. So you may remember the commercial that kind of boosted their popularity. I heard it through the grapevine.
Yeah.
The cover of that. Well, my parents were into 60s music, that was their generation, but very much like the Beatles and the Stones and the kind of popular stuff. So I'd grown up listening to that. And one of my mates got this California Raisins sing the hit songs. And it's the first time that I'd had that exposure to it. So the track listing is brief. I'll do it here. So I heard it through the grapevine. Lean on Me, Stand By Me, You Can't Hurry Love, Heartbreak Hotel, La Bamba, Respect, When a Man Loves a Woman, Mony Mony. So absolute stone cold bangers, each and every one of them. And my first exposure to them, it was only several years later when I realised they weren't actually sung by these Raisins, or the people providing their voices to the Raisins. I knew that song before I knew about Elvis Presley doing Heartbreak Hotel. So I'll admit there was a little bit of ignorance swirling in the mix there as well. But that album was a big part of my childhood. Exposed me to a whole new genre of music, really, and classics that I still listen to this day. And in preparing for this pod, I had it on in the background as I was typing up my notes for this, and it still stands the test of time, because whoever was impersonating the Raisins are actually really, really credible singers, and do a pretty decent cover version of that. So that's my cultural highlight from March 1988 is the release of the California Raisins album, Singing the Hits.
Well, I keep this short.
You're raising the game there.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Oh, we need a sound effect for good pod. We need a good pod.
Oh, God. Right, okay, I'll try and find one. Whack, 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 whack. Anyway, Dom, I'll keep it brief. I only have 12 questions. So, you thought that the Raisins were singing?
Well, obviously not literally. The
No,
Raisins.
but I mean... Well,
Yeah, I thought they'd done these. I thought they'd written.
It was originals.
Yeah. So the people behind.
Oh, right. So the originals, you thought this was some super group, the California Raisins, that came up with all of these hits.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know the individual people that contributed to it.
How old were you?
I would have been 12.
Oh dear God.
Yeah.
That's.
However, had you quizzed me on my knowledge of Lennon and McCartney or Mick and Keith, then I would have been there. But yeah, these were new songs that I'd not heard before, and I assumed had been written by the creative department of some, cutting edge.
I think it's lovely because it's given you access to music you probably wouldn't have listened to before.
Exactly, and it was only when I put it on in the car for my dad to listen to, and he said, "That's not Elvis singing that song." but the scales dropped from my eyes.
So how did you come about having this LP then, Dom? Because did you buy it with record tokens or gift vouchers or
the advert, presumably, and then
It was my mate who was a bit wealthier than the rest of us where we grew up, and he'd been able to go on holiday to America, which put him in legendary status in my community. I think I left the country till I was about 14, and trips to Europe were to southern Spain were as about as exotic as it got for everybody else. He'd been to America, he'd been to a baseball game, he had Nike trainers and a baseball cap, and he came back with this album that he put on, and we listened to on repeat. Either sat and listened to it, or were playing on computer games with it on in the background, and that was a soundtrack to my.
That's amazing.
That is pretty good. That's a cool story.
Probably more like one summer or a year of it we had together, and I remember it very clearly.
That's really cool.
And Joe, I think I'm right in saying that advert in particular, that I heard it through the grapevine, did pretty well over in the US.
It did. Yeah, it sold a lot of raisins.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's fine. Do you know what? If we're going to record one more of these, then music is allowed if we get stories like that. Seriously. Just bring them in. I love that story.
All right, there you go. The personal insight. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, how can you follow that?
Actually, I had two more. And I thought you were going to steal my thunder with when you said music. And it wasn't. I'm not going to broach that one since I think we're running short on time.
No, we're all right. Got another 10 minutes or so.
All right. Well, I'm going to broach the other one, which is The Simpsons premiered as a cartoon short on the Tracy Ullman Show back on March 19th, 1987.
Wow.
Gosh.
And I don't know if did you guys watch the Tracy Ullman Show?
Yes.
A little
we
bit.
got it in Channel 4.
Yeah, this was the time where Fox decided that they wanted to compete with the major networks, which were ABC, CBS, and NBC. Everyone thought they were going to fail. They thought it was impossible. And basically, The Simpsons, really helped a lot for them to succeed as well as they did. I mean, prior to that, they had Married with Children and a couple of other, raunchy shows that they would have on there, which was different. They were a little more raunchier than what you would see on your local major stations and all that. But The Simpsons premiered on the Tracy Ullman Show, and I used to watch the Tracy Ullman Show, but most people watched it just to see The Simpsons. It was maybe a 3 to 5 minute clip of this animated family, and they were a dysfunctional family, and they were very funny, and that's what we would talk at the water cooler the next day. It's did you see that Simpsons cartoon? It was really funny. And then they decided to give them the green light and have their own series, and then it became history.
Changed television forever. Absolutely. But I mean, that is a lovely story, and that's a great example. And again, another limitation at website, Charlie, is I don't think I didn't see that on there. But I think what's strange though, Joe, is if you look back at those shorts from Tracy Ullman, do you not think it's odd that they did capture the imagination so much? And I say this as a Simpsons fan, particularly of the earliest stuff, when seasons 3 to 12 or so.
Bart gets an elephant, Deep Space Homer.
Yeah, exactly. All those absolute classics, which I still personally contend are some of the best, best writing, best television, let alone animated television ever made. But have you ever watched? You obviously have, Joe. But when you go back and watch the shorts, what do you think when you see them?
Well, they almost look like caveman pictures, the way that they drew everything.
Very crude, yeah.
Homer is completely different. His voice is different. He's more like Walter Matthau than he is like the Homer that he is now. He's not as dumb. But it's interesting too, because Bart was the star of those cartoons because he was such a bratty kid that kids looked up to. And I'd say for the first maybe 1 or 2 seasons or even more, he was the star. And then Homer just took off, just because of his stupidity, and it was just really, really funny. It still has its moments. It's kind of like something that you'll put on where you just have nothing to do and you just want to relax, and you'll put it on there and you'll laugh. And what's great about that too is that the supporting characters are just so good, and there's so many of them, and the majority of them are just funny, and you hope that they're in the next episode because they're just so funny.
And you would never think that years later they'd start cancelling some of those characters because of what they were at the time. So you don't have a poo in there anymore, do you?
I think it's even sadder than that, really. I mean, cancelling the characters is one thing, but yeah, the show exists. It's a bit like Police Academy, although on a higher level to make money now, isn't it? So I don't think anybody will be kind of rewatching and referencing Series 30 in the same way that they do about, I watched Series 6 with my daughter the other day, in fact. Just had it on the background when she was a bit under the weather, and we watched the episode where Krusty goes bankrupt through betting against the Harlem Globetrotters and other investments, and sets up a clown college. And honestly, in terms of laugh out loud moments, I must have seen it 50 times in my life. It still gets me, and still gets me every time. It's just the writing is the standout feature. So, it's so warm-hearted as well. I think it's without being preachy at all. I think there's some, it's just a lovely idea, brilliantly executed, and as Joe says, with this supporting cast who are fantastic. I think it's probably my single favorite TV program.
They get preachy sometimes. I remember this was funny. Like, again, Trump was, I don't know if he was president at the time or if he was running for president, where he said Kamala Harris reminded him, he sounds like Marge Simpson. Only he could say something like that. And so Marge Simpson got on her soapbox and said that she supports Kamala Harris and that Trump is a horrible man or something like that. And
too late. He's nicked the cultural reference. That's the thing she can do about it. Yeah,
it's been going that long that they used to have a beef with the original George Bush, didn't they? George Bush Senior. Yeah, classic episode where he moves in next door to Homer and they feud.
Yeah, no, it's great. And they went on to have the movie. The movie was good too. I liked the movie a lot.
Yeah, I went into the movie holding my breath, thinking, my expectations are sky high, can only disappoint. And I was actually, pleasantly surprised. Certainly the first 2/3 of that film.
But the best animated comedy movie of all time is South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. I think that's
in a while.
I think that is one of my top 3 comedy films of all time.
It's very, very good. Yeah, Team America. That's pretty good as well. Yeah.
But I put South Park on the other day, and I just went, "Oh, this is just the writing in this is just genius."
Well, I would agree, but I don't know how it's seen in America. But I think something like Family Guy, has now surpassed The Simpsons in terms of kind of, I'd rather watch a new Family Guy episode than a new Simpsons episode. But none of them have the kind of heights of the classic era Simpsons, I don't think. But yeah, South Park, Family Guy, Simpsons, brilliant television.
I know that the people behind South Park can't stand Family Guy because they feel like they're at the lowest denominator of comedy, that they go for those like one-shot things that, like how Peter will say it's like, it's kind of like this doing this, and then they'll cut to something, and they hate that, and they attack them on their show, and they attack them in public. And the Simpsons don't like them either, but they did do a spin-off where the two of them were together, I know, at one point. But yeah, they're not fans of, what is it? It's like kind of like run and gun humor,
Yeah.
That South Park takedown of Family Guy is worth watching. Definitely encourage everyone to kind of check that out. And I think you're right. It was a bit cringy, that episode where Family Guy and The Simpsons did a crossover. But I think there's room for all of these.
Well, there's still room for being relevant. The South Park episode where they go for Harry and Meghan is borderline genius.
Yeah.
Their World Privacy Tour.
The World Privacy Tour. Yeah. I haven't shown you that, Amanda. I think you'd like that.
Oh, she hasn't seen it yet.
She hasn't seen it. I haven't shown it. Yeah, it's good.
And it has done so much damage to them, which I'm so happy about, because you see so many things that happen. I mean, they do damage to themselves, just by coming out and claiming to be victims and going against the monarchy. Like that Netflix special turned a lot of people against them because they just look like they're arrogant, I'm better than you type of people. and they're complaining about everything. And then Harry's book came out, and people kind of mocked that. But the Simpsons, not the Simpsons, South Park just put the nail in the coffin over here, where it's like everyone's like, it's true. It's like they keep saying that they want privacy, but they really don't, you know. And it took a cartoon for someone to, you know, kind of like went like wildfire. And I'm just so happy. And I have a feeling they'll be back in that series because they're so popular.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they hinted that they may sue, but he might not have the money to sue, because I heard that Prince Harry had 90% of his money tied up in the Silicon Bank that's just been made insolvent. 90%.
Really?
Yeah.
Really, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That kind
all
of
all those
makes
book sales. All those book sales meant nothing.
They'll be selling on Amazon for $5.99 now, won't they? Trying to get more books out quicker.
Their 99p Amazon Fire sale every day. Yeah.
No, I feel bad for the people with the Silicon Valley Bank and everything, but you just made my day, Charlie.
Thank you. Probably not tomorrow morning when the full effects of it are realised next week.
It's going to be a bumpy week, I fear.
Bumpy, very bumpy. Anyway, anyone got anything else? I've got one last thing to finish off with, and it's very quick.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Well, I have just.
Okay.
I was going to say really quick. Back in let's see here, March 16th, 1981, The Who released their 9th album, Face Dances, and I played the hell out of that album. I really loved it. Kenny Jones was his first, I think it was his first time as the drummer of The Who after Keith Moon died, and I liked him. I thought it was good. I saw them in concert with Kenny Jones, and but it's hard to follow Keith Moon, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely agree.
I mean, it's good, Joe, but there's no California Raisins, frankly. So.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to finish with the 1986 film Gung Ho, starring Michael Keaton. So obviously, a lot of respect for Michael Keaton. He's my Batman. He'll always be the best Batman for me, and we'll get to see him this year as Batman again. So hurrah! But the premise of Gung Ho was an automotive factory in America is taken over by a Japanese company, and they bring their Japanese team over. And you think, if we watch the trailer, you think, oh God, this is going to be very awkward, cultural appropriation, a lot of people saying arsehole and, you know, thinking it means arsehole and whatever. And you just think that's the type of film it's going to be. It's actually it's funny. It's funny because of Michael Keaton. It's funny because the lead Japanese guy, and I unfortunately can't remember his name and didn't write it down, he's good. He's actually the guy from 16 Candles.
Yeah.
Which we don't mention him in 16 Candles because that's very, very, very racist.
Long Duck Dong.
Long Duck Dong, yeah. But at the end of it, what happens is they have their little spats. They can't get on with the Japanese way of doing things, and little clashes here and there, and the Japanese are sent mad because they're not doing it. And at the end, everyone agrees just to work together, and it's a really happy, nice happy ending. It cost 13 million to make. It made 36.6 million. My question, just to finish, would be, if that got remade now, you'd never have the happy ending.
No,
you wouldn't have you wouldn't have the nice thing where everyone just gets on and it's nice. And this is why I love the 80s. It's because, yes, they got a lot of things wrong, and yes, you know, you can look back on things and think, well, okay, was that right or wrong, whatever. But his heart was always in the right place, I thought. And I think when you look at films like that, and I do remember it, I haven't watched it for a while, but I will. You just can't make it these days. You can't take that premise and put it in and have the nice warm ending, because Hollywood won't allow it.
Wasn't that Ron Howard's first movie?
No.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Splash was his first.
Was it?
I think Splash was, yeah. It had his brother in it, Clint.
Yeah, Gung Ho was in 1986. Yeah, Splash was
84.
Way before that, yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, there we go.
I
The-
Here-
do think it sounds ripe for a reboot, though, in a 2023 setting, but substitute Chinese workers or a Chinese corporation for the Japanese, and let's see how that goes. I think you're right, Charlie. It may not have the happy ending, but I think it's a film I'd watch.
They'd sabotage. Basically, you would be cheering for the Americans trying to sabotage the Chinese at every single point. They might even blow up Chinese pipelines and stuff. Oh God, sorry. Wait a minute. No.
Some people would be cheering for that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's many people would have been cheering in as would have been in the 80s. Not so much now.
Did you hear they're going to make a Beetlejuice too?
I didn't. And now, if I made you all week, Joe, by telling you about Prince Harry, you just bummed me out, as they say.
Well, Michael Keaton apparently is coming back.
Oh God, why?
What,
Is
for
it
10
Tim
minutes
Burton?
in the movie? It was hardly.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if Tim Burton is. I mean, I just heard IGN reported it. Michael Keaton and is it Jenna Ortega, the one who plays Wednesday?
Okay.
And I think she plays his daughter.
She's all right. She's. Well, okay. Well, on that note, Beetlejuice 2.
I
The
wouldn't
reason
mind
why
seeing him
Beetlejuice
play.
worked. Yeah, but the reason why Beetlejuice works is he's only in it for 17 minutes. It's because it's inferred and he's doing this over here, but you don't see it. And now it's just going to be front and center for the whole film.
But that kind of made him a star, I would say. That movie.
I thought Mr. Mom made him a star, but then Batman
He was
pushed him into the stratosphere.
Yeah. But again, they had the cartoon. I used to watch the cartoon a lot. I really enjoyed that because the character of Beetlejuice. I think people would love to see Michael Keaton play Beetlejuice again.
We need a group watch when The Flash is on. We're all going to see that, hey?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Right. Anyway, we come to the end. We'll do one more of these, I think, and then we'll kick off season 7. Has everyone got their films? I've got my 4. We each get 4 films, by the way. I think I might. Did I tell you that or not?
No.
I don't know. Okay, we get 4 films.
For what topic?
Lucky dip, whatever you want.
Oh God, 4 films.
I've got mine.
Does it have to be 80s?
Yep.
Well, yeah. I'll change the title of the podcast for you if you want.
I forget it if we went beyond the 80s with the Lucky Dip.
Well,
Forgotten 80s movies.
yeah. There you go. Right, it's on the for those watching you. Yeah, 80s films.
Okay.
I'm not gonna tell you my 80s films, but I do have them, and I think they are going to be warmly welcomed. I think.
I think mine are going to alienate listeners, so that's
Excellent. So that's good. That's already we've got that yin yang balance. Excellent.
So free Lucky Dip, but with you vetoing what you don't want to do. Yeah.
No. There's no. I don't. There's no veto. We do it, and picking out in order. I've got the perfect one to start with, and then you can all decide amongst yourselves who wants to go, or you can agree amongst yourselves who wants to go in which order, and then we'll just go in that order. All right.
Looking forward to it almost as much as I'm looking forward to tonight's Oscars. I can then drop into future pods that we do decades hence, and I can.
When it's Rusty Joke, the forgotten 90s movies. I tell you what, we're going to have fun when that changes. We're going to have a lot of fun.
We'll all get Alzheimer's. That'll be the fun bit. We won't remember what we're talking about.
What, you like most of the time?
Like me most of the time, you cheeky git. Right, I've got to go and cook a roast because you require a roast on a Sunday.
You bought it. You bought it. Thanks. I do appreciate it. Thank you. I'm going to go for a swim. Right, I'm going to say goodbye, everyone. Is anybody else?
Yeah. See ya.
Can you play us out to I Heard It Through the Grapevine, Charlie?
The California Raisins. I'm not sure I'm allowed to, but yeah, I'll do my best.
Okay. Toodle pip.
Oh, dear me. That'll do. See you later. Bye.